I am great at procrastinating. I wouldn't say we were taught necessarily how to not procrastinate or how to stay on top of everything.
Procrastination, the biggest enemy of mankind. In one of the recent interviews that we did for our podcast, we talked to a high school student and a teacher, and they both told us that being organized and dealing with procrastination is one of the main important things that the students need help with. But we also learned that the school doesn't technically give you any specific guidelines. It doesn't teach you how to combat procrastination. So I'm Andre, and my co-host Annie, who you'll meet very soon, we sit down and we decided to record some tips for battling procrastination as a student. So we wanted to share with you a couple of the tips on how to battle procrastination. Welcome to our channel, How Real Life Works, where we share all the stuff that school doesn't teach you.
So tip number 1 for combating procrastination is really figuring out where's your energy level lies. Like, are you a early bird or are you a night owl? Personally, I am kind of like a night owl, although I'm being converted to early bird recently. But I think when people procrastinate, it's important when you're trying to combat it to create an environment that's like comfortable for you and where you're most creative, so it's easier for you to start working on the task. So I think it's good to kind of like check your energy level. If you're an early bird, do the stuff, try to do stuff in the morning, and if it's vice versa, then try to do stuff at night. But even if you're a night owl, let's not try to game until 4 a.m., then turn into homework, because that would just be no energy left, I think.
Yeah. Tip number 2 is about momentum. So what momentum means to me is that you need to figure out what gets you going and what gets you getting things done. There are 2 approaches. Annie, you were sharing with me before that your approach is to start with the simpler tasks first, so that you kind of like gain this confidence that, hey, I can do this. And you always kind of like take the next step level, like on the difficulty. Like you said, like getting leveled up to the final raid boss. Yeah. So this is one way how you can do it. Start with smaller tasks and then eventually tackle the biggest thing that you fear and that initially seemed like the most difficult, impossible thing. But once you gain your momentum, it will be easier. The second approach when it comes to momentum is to start your day with the most important and the most challenging thing, the first thing in the morning. And this is called eating the frog. I don't know where that expression comes from. I think it's like people probably don't like eating frogs unless they're Chinese, right? So
maybe.
So I think the saying is that if you have to eat the frog, do it first thing in the morning. And the idea behind this approach is that if you get it through the most difficult thing, everything else will seem much easier. And this is also very important if you're working on something very important for your life, that you start with it first thing in the morning, because then technically if you start procrastinating after that, you will still do the most important thing for your life. So that's the second approach, momentum. Think about it.
I think for the momentum, it's also important to keep in mind, as you do these things, your energy level will kind of start getting drained. So that's why I use the first method, because I don't want the hardest task to drain all my brain cells and I can't focus on the easy stuff. But it could also be that it's very hard after you do those small tasks and you still gotta like think about the gigantic difficult thing to do. So it really comes down to personal choices. So feel free to experiment with it. Tip number 3, I think, has to do with planning. So let's say you have 5 homework it's due next week, and all these different homework, I would say, require different kind of energy level, time commitment, and difficulty is very different. So what I always like to do is I like to plan out a little bit. I'll take these 5 homework and try to evaluate like how much time I need to put into this, and then trying to plan around the deadlines, make sure I'm covering all of them. If I am trying to get this essay that I need to spend 10 hours in, I'm gonna try to make every day a little bit of progress, so that I can keep things going, keep the momentum going for this essay. Because if I wait until the last day and then I need to spend 10 hours on it, it could be very problematic for me. Or it could also be like every day for a few hours or even just minutes, 15 minutes, I can kind of draft my outline. And when it's time to really tackle this big essay, I kind of have something pre-work already done. And I think planning it, making sure you know when you're supposed to do what, it's easier because you don't need to spend time like figuring out like, oh, what's the homework I need to do today? And when you're like that, it's easily to get distracted. I don't know, from Discord, Facebook, Twitter, IG, all these other more fun things to do.
Yeah. Tip number 4 that's very related to planning is you can plan something, but the question is, are you actually going to do what you planned? And this is where a study buddy can help you, because if you share your plan with someone that you really care about, you probably don't want to disappoint them. So if you share this plan with them, they can keep you accountable, and maybe you can even ask them to check on you. Like, hey, like you give your word to someone and say, hey, I want to do this homework. I want to get this done by tomorrow. Can you check on me? And then maybe tomorrow they will check on you. And if you don't want to disappoint them, you don't want to make them angry, you will actually be motivated to get it done. But if you don't have a study buddy, if you plan something for tomorrow, maybe tomorrow you will feel like lazy, you start your day bad, you will be in a bad mood, and then you will be like, oh, I can do this maybe tomorrow, I can do this later this week, like whatever, like, like the deadline is next week. And then next week, if you don't execute your plan as you planned it, you will have so much homework to do in one day and you will probably collapse. So find a study buddy, and like Annie, you were saying before, it's not only about
studying, it's also about having fun.
Like if you study with someone and you together like kind of
you could
push yourself.
kind of bounce ideas together and even struggle together. I feel like anything is better when you have company, like someone's in your shoes as well. So it's nice to do that. And I mean, it's online learning, everyone is stuck at home, so why not hang out with your friends and do something productive at the same time. And that closes out to tip number 5, which is after you study with your friends, maybe it's time to do something fun. Tip number 5 is really reward, which a lot of the strategies out there called habit bundling, or like kind of whatever bundling this thing is. So it's trying to bundle something you don't like doing, tying it into a reward. So let's say if you really like to play games, you really want to play Among Us. After you study with your friends, you're like, hey, time to jump on a game, and then you get a quick few rounds in. Or if you really like drawing, after that you can draw together. So it's really like tying something you like, reward yourself for doing something you don't like. And this is very useful because as you probably go through life, you will have a lot of things you don't want to do, and it's going to be really hard to motivate yourself. But if you're trying to tie it into something you love, it's going to make things easier.
Thanks for watching. I hope these tips for battling procrastination were useful to you. Let us know in the comments below if we gave you some good, useful tips, or if you have any of your own tips that you want to share with the community. Thank you, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and if you do so, don't forget to turn on the reminder bell. And thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!